Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to a quick little maneuver guide here for Tactics Ogre Reborn. So, this is going to be from one of the fights that's been a particular roadblock for the Union Level 0 challenge, specifically because this is a moment in the run in which there's basically little to no funds to work with. There's very few surviving units from the original party, and additionally, there's essentially a boss unit that more or less can't be hurt by most of the members of the team. So what I want to discuss here is how we get around stuff like this, how to use maneuver to get what you want in Tactics Ogre Reborn. Now, this is slightly different from how it was back in PSP, given that while a lot of the same rules still apply in terms of ways that you can potentially manipulate the AI, we do have a lot more things to work with in terms of guaranteed attacks, in terms of having more knockbacks kind of assigned to attacks for free. And this really expands our kind of toolbox on the map itself rather than the spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and discuss this a little bit. So first and foremost, what exactly is our goal here? Well, all we have to do to win this fight is to kill Nadia. And currently, our heaviest hitter, as you'd probably expect at this portion of the game, is going to be Canopus. As you might notice, this is a little bit of a problem. He not only has next to no chance to hit, but he also does pitiful damage against her. So there's a lot of potential tools at our disposal here to potentially deal with this. But the first thing to pay attention to is this bush. So whenever we're going and attempting to sort of prep the field, so to speak, for our attacks, one thing to bear in mind is that the worst thing that can happen is getting stuck. So we want to make sure that we always have room to maneuver, for one thing, and for another, we want to make sure that we always have additional backup plans for whatever we were doing. So for example, right here, we'll go ahead and move our knight forward, and we'll then go use our other knight to continue pushing this knight forward. Because one of the best things that you can have when you have a disadvantage in terms of material is space. And what we can do here is essentially take more and more territory to deny movement to the other guy. So what we're doing here is we're using shield bashes to move our knights a little bit farther than they would normally be able to move, and we are attempting to force an engagement on that corner over there nearby where the golem is. So effectively, the only thing that can stop a movement right now is if that soldier decides to move into position behind the golem, which we still have a plan for, but the ideal is that they end up running to the side rather than going forward. How do we convince the AI to go move to the side rather than moving forward? Well, we convince them that the flank is not over here, that the flank is something more over here. So, or rather, the center of our party, I should say. So we're going to move more material over this way. We have a skill trigger card, which is ideal for this unit over here, and additionally we want to hopefully move this golem out of the way. It's one of the few things that's kind of a closer threat right now, and if we can get it out of here, that would be great. Now, given this unit over here, this is one of the ones that we started with, this puts us in a position where we have an auto card that's going to make it their meditate and concentration more likely to trigger. They're one of the few units that we want to make sure to protect at all costs, so we're going to try to keep them alive as best we can, because right over here we have what I've been calling the artificial wizards. Namely, they're the ones that are replacements for the ones that died. They are not able to achieve their skills naturally, so they will achieve them through items. Alright, additionally, another thing to potentially consider is when we look at our units over here, we'll notice their vitality. So vitality 42 over here, pretty darn decent, 113 defense on her. On this guy, defense is 99, and in her case, her defense is also 113. So essentially what this is telling us is that between all of these, this guy is probably out of range, this one's probably the one that's going to end up getting attacked. Currently, she does not have anything other than her concentration ready, and I would prefer, rather than putting units to sleep at the moment, I would prefer to charm them to move them out of the way. So, and additionally, I see that there's a Hawkman Archer over here that's going to be acting relatively soon, so I'm going to go ahead and take our lowest defense caster over here. I'm going to throw a sidestep onto him to give him a chance to dodge. We'll then also set up this unit over here and make sure that he's out of sight by moving him behind this building. Alright. From here, we'll go ahead and throw a heal from Denim over to our knight, who hopefully should be able to make a little bit of room on the right there in a moment, and we'll continue moving our units over here, meaning that the majority of our center is going down the center of the map rather than the right, which should hopefully convince the soldier to move to the side. Unfortunately, he did decide to go forward, which is not great, but we still have a way around this. So this is going to slightly slow down our movement on the right side, but again, we have ways around this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and close off the area behind him. So if we move over here, this will convince other units to move in this direction while still opening up this area for our own movement. This will make sense in a moment, but in the case of Canopus, because he is a flyer, we can afford to move him over here, which will then allow him to essentially kind of bait attacks to cause the golem to go another direction. He is an ice element, Canopus is an air element. This means that that attack is pretty likely to happen. Alright, so at the moment, there's no actions I want to take with this knight, so I'm just going to leave her to stand still where she is, but everybody else will be moving into denial mode. So right over here, I need you to move over this direction and take this critical card. This will deny that card to the opposing side here, and additionally we'll go ahead and get rid of this red card over here, not necessarily because it was doing anything in particular, but because it frees up the card count a little bit. Additionally, we'll go ahead and move you over here to just take more territory and hopefully convince them to move this way a little bit more. And then this way, we should hopefully be able to trap all of the golems between the buildings once all is said and done. Golems and everybody else typically like to attack from the sides and the back, so this means that when we moved Canopus over there and had his back facing that direction, this opened up an opportunity for us to sneak our units through. Additionally, there was a chance for that crossbow shot to miss, which would have been pretty beneficial if it did, but still, he is alive, he is functional, and that's all we really need for the moment. Anyway, we want to get this golem out of the way to get our units through, and we want to make a corridor. So what we're going to do is we're going to shield bash this guy backwards and move our own units up that way. Additionally, we now have both enough MP as well as everything else to have this cleric doing her thing, so we'll attempt to roll a charm on this guy using our guaranteed 30% odds. They're not perfect by any means, but they are something that will help. Additionally, because this guy's charmed, we know he's not going to attack, so we're going to go ahead and get up in his face and try to convince him to go the other direction. If you have a charmed unit, just like a bit of a zombie horde, it's worthwhile to consider going and charming them right next to each other, because charmed units will not attack each other. So if we can get both of them going and shattering, we can get them going backwards. So we'll go ahead and use this wizard to block this gap right here, and hopefully, hopefully convince this guy to go backwards. Now, in this case, we do not have the range to go and charm him from this direction, but what we do have is stun. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our paralytic wave, and we're going to go ahead and throw it out this way. It isn't ideal to target our own unit, but this could potentially give us just the denial that we need. Unfortunately, it ended up hitting the wrong unit, but again, we'll deal. So, so unfortunately, Canopus decided to kind of screw over the thing that we were going for here by knocking that unit right backwards. But again, we'll be decent enough here. So we're going to move forward. We're going to deny this physical card, and we're going to close off this golem. We're additionally going to heal this guy up. So one concept I want y'all to be a bit familiar with here is the difference between critical health and low health. So a low health unit will be in a position that they will be still a kind of valid threat for the AI. It's something that the AI will typically target and try to finish off. However, a critical health unit, surprisingly enough, has a little bit of a grace period there. The reason for this is because the AI seems to like targeting units that will cause them to have better numbers. So if a unit is at like 10 or 11 health or something, this could potentially put them in a position that simply put they don't want to attack, that they just don't want to hit that guy. They don't see an efficient number coming out of it, so they'll go and attack somebody else, like these level 1 knights over here. This makes them a pretty useful tool for going and moving units somewhere else. So right now we're kind of setting up a bit of a honeybee defense here, where we're looking to keep our casters safe so that hopefully they can apply some pressure doing their thing, but we're using everybody else to sort of body block the important heavy hitters into a little bit of a clump, trying to deny their movement as much as possible, and ideally we just clump them up into a square and constantly rotate out our units, taking heals where needed, because despite the level advantage, we still have a little bit of bulk in the tank here in the form of our health. Anyway, our primary goal here is to get our 2 heavy knights as well as Canopus over to their leader, because we'll be taking advantage of a few other mechanics as we go along, but that's currently our goal. Anyway, At the moment, we have one healthy debuff caster over here. No auto cards for her to take, so I'm going to leave her right there at the moment. This one's Spell Strike ended up fading away, so we'll just have her munch on a little bit of a Mental Leaf over here, pick up this convenient MP card. Actually, more convenient would be over here, because this MP card also denies movement to this warrior over here. Unfortunately, she does have a critical in the bank, so hopefully that won't become an issue down the road. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and move over in this direction, pick up a bit of a phalanx boost for our knight, and we're going to attempt to get into position with her. Right now, our primary goal above absolutely everything else is just to get those knights into position, because once we do, we are basically off to the races. From there, we want to try and deny offense as much as possible through things like stun and charm. But again, we won't necessarily get everything that we need all the time. We're just kind of gonna play our odds there. So we get a nice convenient parry. Those stickers, man, I tell you, those stickers have some freaking value to them. You know, very lightweight piece of equipment, a very cheap piece of equipment, but man, oh man, those things will win fights for you. Anyway, at this point, we are now in a position that we potentially have an option to go attack this lady right here. We have the potential to go and close her off from the rest of the party, and we have a potential to sort of force a decision. Unfortunately, it's a little bit risky. So, like, let's say we go ahead and attack her normally, and we end up having relatively bad odds. If we go ahead and activate our Mighty Impact, we're in a position that we are nearly guaranteed to hit. That 102 will be pretty much what we need. Essentially, going and spamming attacks with him repeatedly is how we end up winning this fight. Two things to consider. Actually, four things to consider. One, parry. I kid you not, I've gotten the dream setup on this fight 3 times already, only for it to be denied by a 7% parry. So that particular thing can happen at any time, right? From there, additionally, again, 100% odds until we have a vigorous attack, doesn't really matter. That parry can still happen. For another thing, if she's not finished off, she can heal. A third thing, she has a Caldia with her that's doing this parrying, which means that given her level, she also has access to a finisher, which will one-shot Canopus every single time at the moment, which is actually why he carries this second Mental Leaf on him right now, so that at this point of the fight, he can go ahead and give himself maximum health, as well as turning on his skill so that he's not spending time on that later, okay? This will become important in a bit of a moment. So we will continue wasting time and denying movement with everybody else. They'll continue trying to take whatever attacks they can, moving around. We want to force them to do as much movement as possible, just wasting as much time as possible to buy time for the strike team to get in position here. So you're going to go ahead and go over here, and we're going to form up into a little bit of a column. So you can make a corridor with your units to get through awkward locations in order to keep maneuvering. So like right here, we know that this guy is probably going to go try and put himself into a better position. He's probably not going to turn around and go attack from the front. So this means that by stacking up our units, we can have them move as a line through the middle. Anyways, at this point, our most likely survivor of this bunch is going to be this caster over here, so we're going to go do that, and we're going to attempt to pick up the skill card to force more cards to spawn somewhere else. This could potentially give us the resources that we need to go and, put us into a better position, but if we potentially go and delete some existing cards through more skill cards on a unit that has no auto skills, that could be exactly what we need as well. Now, unfortunately, the caster over there did decide to go attack Canopus, which ends up setting up our critical, or ends up kind of ruining our critical setup from before, so we'll go ahead and move to another backup plan. In this case, we're going to go ahead and attempt to mind control their archer, which was a success. So this could potentially put us in a bit of a better position, but we'll see. Now, that wizard decided to move because he had an attack available, he had a means to go move out of the way, and this ends up helping us out a decent bit. We see that this golem's going to be the next one that'll be acting, so we try to go ahead and get our charm on him. Unfortunately, it ends up missing. 30% is still 30%, but this guy with his tremendous shot over here is going to go and provide some nice, much-needed damage for us. Right now, I'm feeling pretty confident about Denim not necessarily getting attacked unless he's the only target, so I'm going to go ahead and put him into a hopefully safer position so that everybody else can continue harassing. Additionally, we see that we've got a caster over here that might potentially provide some useful stuff. Unfortunately, the charm does end up missing, but again, these things are to be expected. So we're going to go ahead and deny movement to this guy over here by taking our phalanx and moving on forward. This means that he no longer can get around, and hopefully we can get into position with Canopus here to go and attack. Now, the reason that this is important right now as opposed to before is because now, when she goes and attacks, he essentially can take a second turn, and he can go ahead and set this up right now. So we're going to go ahead and take a mighty attack here, or a mighty impact here, on the very off chance that somehow this ends up fluking on us. Because there's a few ways that this can potentially go. She might decide to go attack a completely different unit. Unfortunately, she didn't here. That actually would have been pretty convenient if he did. But again, we're setting up for backup plans. So like right now, that soldier got in our way. Bit of a bummer, but either way, we can go ahead and heal up Sarah here, who will then get Canopus back on his feet to go do another attack. See, our goal is to use Pincer, a combination of Pincer and a few other things to essentially allow Canopus to swing over and over and over on that one unit. Everybody else is simply buying time for that arrangement to happen. Now, it's pretty unlikely to happen, and that is, of course, the nature of challenge runs. Things will end up inevitably going wrong over and over and over. But the idea here is to show just how much you can achieve with just maneuver alone. We can't use most of the debuff options or debuff or buff options that would be available to us at this time. Like, I would love to spam Jewels of the Avatar on everybody, but we simply do not have the resources to do that right now. I would love to go and have sidesteps on all of our casters, but I literally can only spare a handful of those. So this puts us in a position that we're trying to take advantage of a lot of very oddly specific things. Like in other cases, what I've been doing is actually getting our taking our False Strike rapiers over there in order to achieve a free effect that's just a variant of dodge, right? That it potentially allows us to dodge away attacks when we otherwise would have to spend money to do so. Now, it's not necessarily as good as just activating dodge, but it is a free version of the same thing. So, in this case, she ends up burning through her Tyrant Maces, as she does, and hopefully this allows for Sarah here to go and get Canopus into position here, to then do a little bit more attacking. Unfortunately, every part of this situation has gotten a little bit scuffed here. She is currently not in a position where she's got her back to Canopus, so he won't be able to trigger his attack, but he does land his critical there, so that's pretty nice. But one thing that we do want to do is just repeatedly try to spam revive this guy. It's what we've got at the moment. Thankfully, if that Ice Caster on the left ends up moving forward, this does still potentially put us in a position that we might be able to put him in a better spot. Also, if you hear random noises, the kittens are up in the background doing weird kitten things with apparently a marble that they found. Also, you'll notice earlier that at some point we ended up having Denim get screwed over by the fact that Cashua decided to heal him. Yes, that is a potential consideration as well. Anyway. So, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of randomly, oddly specific things here. We're now in a position that, theoretically, there is the option for something to happen here. And oddly enough, it may depend on this guy being able to achieve a throwing rock. So, let's go ahead and have him throw a rock right here, and he actually can go ahead and break that wine cask, which actually puts us in a really darn good position if this goes like I'm hoping it will. So she goes for the shield bash. This is pretty useful as it allows for getting Canopus into a position to hopefully attack again, oddly enough, at which point we should be able to hopefully use Voltaire to get Sarah back up on her feet, who then will use an instant turn to hopefully set up for another attack. Hopefully. We'll see how this ends up going. As of the moment, there's a lot of things up in the air. This might just end up getting parried at any time. But if everything works out perfectly ideally, and she ends up rolling a parry here, this could be a very interesting way to potentially get this. Because if she rolls the parry here, that means that Canopus will do his back attack. So this is the one time that we're actually kind of praying for a parry here. Alright, so she gets that going. Come on, parry this. Or block it. Beautiful. All right, cool. So, again, this probably still won't end up being the win here, but this is just to give you an idea of just how this potentially can play out here, right? The kinds of things that you can potentially take advantage of in order to put yourself in a potentially better spot here. Now, the odds of Canopus actually getting an attack here that pulls this off are pretty unlikely. Effectively, at this point, he would have to achieve his Mighty Strike, which actually has a chance to do here. But everybody else would have to miss their attacks, and we'd have to set it up a little bit better. But you see the potential is there for kind of cracking this code, so to speak. So I hope this was an interesting little showcase in kind of how maneuvering works in this game, how you can get yourself into a better position, even when the numbers say that you absolutely have no chance to. Alright, anyways, I gotta get going. You'll have yourselves a good one, and you'll probably see the successful version of this during the Union Level 0 run. I have part of that already done and recorded and whatever else, but we're like right there for getting it completely done. It was one of these cases that I planned for it to already be handled and everything else, but at the last minute I decided to go down law route, and then it ended up adding several fights that I wasn't exactly set up for. And additionally, there's other optimizations that I could do here, like backing out to go into training mode to go give more stuff for Canopus, because currently he's running level 1 on his swords. We could potentially go and kind of resell some items to maybe work in those dodges and things like that. But as of the moment, I feel like the pieces are just there enough to make this work. And if you're wondering, hey, what about just flying around and collecting physical up cards? Believe it or not, it actually was way more consistent to do it this way than it was collecting those cards, because they are there to essentially amplify something that's already there, and when there's nothing there, it doesn't necessarily work as good as you think it would. Especially in the beginning of Chapter 2, yeah, that was a perfectly valid strategy. But as time went on, it fell off pretty quick. Anyway, I gotta get going. I gotta go get started on the day. So hope this was interesting. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and I will see you in the next one. So take care now. Have a good one, and thank you for stopping by. Later.